Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, and things adjacent. And today in things adjacent, this will be very, very adjacent, but important as well. Getting killed by police is a leading cause of death for young black men in America. This is from the Los Angeles Times. This could also go under the heading of no duh, of course, and tell me more. About 1 in 1,000 black men and boys in America can expect to die at the hands of police, according to a new analysis of deaths involving law enforcement officers. That makes them 2.5 times more likely than white men and boys to die during an encounter with cops. The analysis also showed that Latino men and boys, black women and girls, and Native American men, women, and children are also killed by police at higher rates than their white peers. The vulnerability of black males was particularly striking. That 1 in 1,000 number struck us quite high, said study leader Frank Edwards, a sociologist at Rutgers University. That's better odds of being killed by police than you have of winning a lot of scratch-off lottery games. The number crunching by Edwards and his co-authors also revealed that for all young men, police violence was one of the leading causes of death in the years 2013 to 2018. The police are terrorizing people, and you could make the argument that they always have been. But I feel like police violence and police terrorism is definitely on the rise. There used to be, I remember back in the day. No, there used to be kind of a thing about you know getting people to court and not taking someone's life, not shooting at them immediately. Trying to there was an ethos, right? Then it's also a law, right, that the police are supposed to use the most nonviolent means and not dirty, hairy people all over the place. That they're supposed to take people in to have their day in court. And increasingly, and obviously that ethos is not taught or instilled in officers, right? And not only that, there's this huge, I don't know what you would call it, but I feel like police officers there's this overreaction, over response to everything, right? A routine traffic stop that, maybe the officer feels a little funny about it. And all of a sudden it's not just one car backup. It's like, there's 5 guys there. There's just this over police presence. There was something that happened in downtown LA the other day. There were literally 30 cop cars, like literally 30 cop cars in front of this hotel. I'm like, what could you possibly need 30 cop cars full of police for? It was probably like a couple of dudes doing something, but you needed 30, like the entire police force of Los Angeles there for one incident. There's this like piling on thing that happens with police, and you see it all the time in videos where people are being beaten by cops, right? Where you saw it in the Rodney King video, where you have a whole bunch of cops, 8 or 10 or 12, cops on one guy, completely excessive use of force and not necessary, right? Like, what is one guy going to do to like 3 or 4 policemen, let alone 12? Anyways, the findings published this month in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Scientists add hard numbers to a pattern personified by victims like Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, and Freddie Gray. Scientists, meanwhile, are increasingly studying police violence as a public health problem whose long-term harms radiate far beyond the original victim. It can have these toxic effects on communities in terms of both of their physical and mental health. A study published in The Lancet last year found that police killings of unarmed black men were associated with an increase in mental health problems such as depression and emotional issues for black people living in the state where the killing took place. And if we go back up here at the list of, here's a list of causes of death for black men in their mid to late 20s. There's assault, accident, suicide, heart disease, HIV, cancer, police use of force. Police use of force, 3.4. But look at suicide, number 3, 17.5. That seems incredibly high, like an incredibly high rate of suicide. And clearly, there is a lot of depression and hopelessness. Anyways, this is, this is not new news, just a new take on the news that many people are already aware of, but I'm going to link this article below and you guys can check that out. And where are we? Well, so this was brought to my attention. Graham Elwood did a good video on this. So if you remember, the Democratic Party sued WikiLeaks about their leak, the leaks of their emails. And I guess a judge Judge John Codall of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York ruled against it. And in his ruling, Judge Codall, a Bill Clinton nominee and former assistant special prosecutor for the Watergate Special Prosecution Force, dismissed with prejudice a civil lawsuit filed in April 2018 by the Democratic National Committee alleging WikiLeaks was civilly liable for conspiring, with the Russian government to steal DNC emails and data and leak them to the public. So it's a stretch because obviously they couldn't link the WikiLeaks release to the Russian government. There's no link. The decision exposes the Democratic Party in a conspiracy of its own to attack free speech and cover up the crimes of U.S. imperialism and the corrupt activities of the two parties of Wall Street, Judge Codall stated. Wow. Pretty progressive stuff from this judge. If WikiLeaks could be held liable for publishing documents concerning the DNC's political, financial, and voter engagement strategies simply because the DNC labels them secret and trade secrets, then so could any newspaper or other media outlet. But that would impermissibly elevate a purely private privacy interest to override the First Amendment interest in the publication of matters of the highest public concern. The DNC's published internal communications allowed the American electorate to look behind the curtain of one of the two major political parties in the United States during a presidential election. This type of information is plainly the type entitled to the strongest protection that the First Amendment allows. That is... this is good news, and shame on the Democratic Party for this absolute ridiculous mess that they've created. This was a conspiracy by the Democratic Party to cover up or to dissuade people from looking at those emails and actually taking them to task. Because what was revealed in those emails, not only severe impropriety on the part of the DNC as far as how they ran the primaries and the fact that it was proven that they cheated. Bernie Sanders, his chance at the nomination, and Bernie Sanders could very well file a lawsuit. I think some people filed a lawsuit on his behalf against the DNC. For these practices, they're open to definitely some legal situations as revealed by those emails. But going even deeper than that, they really, really don't want people to look at the Podesta emails, which reveals some other very interesting things, and pedophile code language, and John Podesta and Tony Podesta are really very, very scary characters, very interesting characters. And interestingly, Tony Podesta, their firm, the Podesta Group, went out of business when Tony Podesta was indicted by Robert Mueller in the Russiagate thing. And some people found that very interesting. that Tony Podesta was indicted for something totally different. But anyways, the Podesta Group is no longer in business. Anyways, that's all I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to link this below. I mean, when this story came out about them suing WikiLeaks, that there was a lot of laughing. There was a lot of guffawing and chortling and laughing because it was just so ridiculous. And proven again to be ridiculous. Judge tossing out this case. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. You can also like and subscribe to this channel. Until next time, peace.